Hello and a very warm welcome to today's session of Seize the Mains. My name is Madhusudan Reddy and I will be taking up the question here. So today's question is regarding the concept of carrying capacity which has been discussed in the miscellaneous topics, that the importance of carrying capacity with respect to the Lions and the Gir National Park and the Kuno National Park. In that context, the question is being brought. This is also one of the previous year questions which has been asked in the UPSC examination. Now this is to train you to write these kind of questions. Let's directly look into the question here. Let me read the question for you. The question here says that define the concept of carrying capacity of an ecosystem as relevant to an environment. Explain how understanding this concept is vital while planning for sustainable development of a region. Firstly, as an individual, you have to break this question and what is the demand of the question you have to understand. Now it says clearly to define the concept of carrying capacity. So carrying capacity of an ecosystem, this is what the demand of the question here. What you have to do is define. And next, it also asks that as relevant to an environment. In the context of environment it is being asked. See, a carrying capacity is a term that can be used for your resources also, particular region also, and it can be utilized, this word can be used in every area. You as an individual will have certain carrying capacity, right? So this carrying capacity can be used in every other term, but here it is exclusively asking about the environment. And also the question demands explain how understanding this concept is vital while planning for sustainable development of a region, right? So this question has two parts. This is part one, which is asking about the definition, and second part which is asking about the application. That means whatever you have learnt about the concept, you have to apply it here. Now let's quickly get into the answering methodologies, how you can answer this by using the current affairs technique, right? As you all know, every question has a standard format, that is introduction, body and conclusion. Now for these kind of questions, what you can do is, firstly in the introduction, introduce the importance of this particular point. It means to say that in the recent times the population explosion has happened, or the sixth mass extinction is yet to begin, right? In this context, the importance of the important concept of understanding the carrying capacity is very important for the sustainable development. Right. Now this is one of the methodologies in which you can introduce this type of questions. Now in the introduction, it is clearly relating that ecosystem importance you have to mention, right? So I'll give you few pointers how to approach this answer or approach this question. So in my point of view, it is understood that introduction and body are very limited with respect to the question. If you have a question, that introduction and body should strictly adhere to the question demand. Now in the conclusion, this is your open area. Now this is where you can perform as an individual. If you have more relevant examples or more better ideas than anyone, you can actually write it here. That means this is an open ground. But introduction and body should adhere with the question demand, right? You should adhere with the question demand. Now the question demand is, firstly in the introduction, what you can mention about is, I'll give you in the pointer formats, you can explore the answer in your own writing methodologies, because everyone has their own style of answer writing, right? In the introduction, you can talk about in the recent times the population explosion has happened, and in this context understanding of the carrying capacity in relevance with the sustainable development gives a better platform for understanding the future developmental aspects as well. So in this context, the importance of carrying capacity can be listed down like that. So write about the introduction, and in the body mention the definition of carrying capacity. Okay. Now once you mention the definition of the carrying capacity, here the question also asks you to explain the carrying capacity in relevance to the sustainable development, right? Now while explaining what methodologies you can use, You as an individual, if you struggle or juggle in the examination to recall these points, simply put forward 1 point each from each subject. In your paper 1 you have history, society and geography. In your paper 2 you have polity. In your paper 3 you have environment, economics and security. So in different dimensions, if you can link up, that itself will be your answer, because the question here which has asked is in a different open-ended question. This is an open-ended question. It explain how understanding this concept is vital while planning for sustainable development of a region. Now here I'll tell you few pointers what can be used to write this answer. So you can use the content of SDGs. SDG mentions 12, 13, 14 and 15. These goals are relevant to environment, right? You can also utilize this while explaining. Also explain the significance of carrying capacity while taking an example. For example, Chandigarh is there. Chandigarh, when it has to be planned, the city when it has to be planned, it also need to be understood that the carrying capacity of Chandigarh is only for this number of population, right? Clear? Similarly, the carrying capacity of the Gir National Park, these are the reference examples while you have to write an answer I am giving. The carrying capacity of the Gir National Park is presently full. So beyond which any more increase in the population of the Gir National Park lions will lead to the degradation of the Gir ecosystem. This is, you have to use these kind of terms or the language while writing your answer as a passing reference, right? Now you can talk about few more aspects, that is number 1. If the carrying capacity of a region is full, you will also get diseases, more diseases, and the competition among these species will be more. Along with that, predatory prey interaction, it will be very more often, and ultimately the prey is going to die, and the alpha, beta, gamma diversity of a region is going to be impacted, or the diversity components, they will be no longer sustainable. Along with this, to understand the carrying capacity with respect to the sustainable development, once you understand the term carrying capacity, the sustainable development can be utilized in understanding for economic planning, also for the biodiversity conservation of that particular area, while planning for urban, such as cities like Gandhinagar, cities like Amaravati, which is yet to be planned, first need to be understood of the carrying capacity of that region with respect to resources and environment. Also, it will help in urban planning and food security. These are the areas which you can delve into, right? Clear? And it will be of great importance, and you will get a value marks when you give references to the sustainable development goals. Now what you can also do is, in the conclusion part, you have to write about the awareness. That means in the future you need more awareness. Along with that, planning stage pay itself, you need to have the sustainable development goals induced, right? While planning a project, there itself you need to think of the carrying capacity of region and also the sustainable development component. And also protection of natural forest will enhance the carrying capacity of that region while giving a better yield for the sustainable development in the future. Or else you can end with a quote saying that we don't inherit this earth from our ancestors, rather we borrow it from our grandchild. For this, the sustainable development component plays a vital role by understanding the concept of carrying capacity of that region, right? So now conclusions are with respect to your open-ended understandings. Body is mostly defined in the question itself, that you have to stick with any of these components you can play with while writing your answer. That is economic planning. On the basis of economic planning, you need to have this carrying capacity. Biodiversity conservation ke liye you need to understand carrying capacity, because these are the components which are utilized or involved in the sustainable development. Also the diseases, competition, predatory prey, alpha, beta, gamma diversity and sustainable development goals. If this is the part of your body, it is understood that you are going to get a decent number of marks, right? So please post your answers in the link provided below so that you get your answers evaluated by our expert evaluators. Thank you guys.